Hey folks, I'm JC from One Shot Adventures, and today I'm going to talk about something a little different. I'm going to talk about how 4 software tools really just changed my life as a game master and an adventure writer. Now, I've been writing RPG adventures for a really long time. I think I built my first dungeon back when I was a kid in the 1980s, when I was first discovering the red box Dungeons and Dragons. But I always liked to give my adventures like a little extra polish beyond just the writing. I would make handouts for my players or even draw cool covers for them. Like, check out this sweet, sweet cover of an adventure I wrote back when I was like 13. That's pretty badass, isn't it? Now, while I'd like to think I've come a long way since those days, I know that I'm nowhere near as talented as the actual professional artists that I've worked with in my career in the game industry. I mean, those people are incredible and they can just completely run circles around me no matter how hard I try. But I still enjoy the entire creative process of crafting an adventure, and I still love adding a little flair into my work. I love creating maps and handouts and pre-generated characters, and lately content for virtual tabletops, something I never thought I'd be doing back when I was a kid in the 80s. So to me, these little additions to adventures just make for an overall immersive RPG experience. But how do I, as somebody who's not a professional artist at all, do all that? Well, lately I've been relying on some amazing tools that use artificial intelligence, AI, to create content for my adventures. And today, I'm going to walk you through 4 of my favorite content tools. I'm going to show you how I've been using them lately, and hopefully you can steal some of my tricks and techniques for your own adventures. So here we go with my favorite software tools for game masters. I'll start with the newest of all of these tools, Midjourney. Now, I have to start with Midjourney because it's just setting the entire industry on fire right now. In fact, not just the RPG and tabletop industry, but even the video game industry, which is where I come from. I've even seen predictions that Midjourney is going to replace artists for indie content creators. Now, I don't totally believe that, and I'll tell you why in just a couple minutes. But first, let me show you how this tool works. Midjourney uses artificial intelligence to create phenomenal artwork. You just type in whatever you want on a Discord server, and voila, you get an amazing illustration just a minute or 2 later. For example, just a couple weeks ago, I played in a Call of Cthulhu adventure called A Painted Smile. It stars this crazy old lady who's obsessed with her dolls, and she curses the players. And, well, if you've ever seen Chucky, you know pretty much exactly how this turns out. Now, in this adventure, this is the official depiction of Hilda, the crazy old doll witch. But as an experiment, I went into Midjourney and typed "evil old lady obsessed with her old dolls," and in under a minute, Midjourney created this. Holy Hound of Tindalos, like, this is amazing. It's not only perfect as a depiction of Hilda the old witch, but it's still creepy as all get out. It's perfect for a Call of Cthulhu game. It would make an awesome handout for my players. Like, maybe I could do an article in the Arkham newspaper about Hilda and show this picture. But more than just handouts, I think that Midjourney can also be used to inspire you as a game master. For example, I'm working on this new horror adventure where my players are trapped on an island and they needed to be terrorized by some primordial insect-like creature. So I just typed that in, and bam, I got this. Now, not only is this going to make for an excellent handout, like maybe in some professor's old journal, but it also inspired me to stat up this crazy, wormy, millipede thing in a unique way that I might not have thought of on my own. Now, like I said before, a lot of people are saying on social media that, oh my God, Midjourney is going to replace artists. Do I think that will actually happen? I don't think that's going to happen for a while. While AI does a great job at surprising you with artwork, it doesn't do a good job at sticking to a unique style, like human artists can do. For example, if you've ever looked at the Conan RPG, you'll see that it has this beautiful watercolor-like artwork all over the books that are reminiscent of old sword and sorcery paintings. Human artists can replicate that and create lots of new art in exactly that style. But with something like Midjourney and AI, it struggles to replicate the exact same style again and again and again. As awesome as each individual image is, creating a whole supplement full of images that look like they belong in the same world, that's going to be really hard for quite some time. But Midjourney is still an amazing product, and for like $10 a month, it's totally worth checking out if you're going to write an adventure. Now we're going to move over to audio, and I'm going to talk about my next favorite tool, a tool called Descript. Like a lot of game masters, I really like using music in my sessions, like turning a playlist on that's appropriate to the RPG we're playing. But lately, as a lot of my sessions have moved over to virtual tabletop, I find it's harder to use audio because the audio more easily competes with the players talking over their headsets. But I was thinking with this move to virtual tabletop, wouldn't it be fun to create audio handouts, like little moments that I can play for my players during key moments of the adventure? In comes Descript, a tool that takes whatever you write and transforms it into lifelike voiceover. And not only can you customize what kind of voice you want, but you can actually notate whatever you write with different emotions, or if you're a voice actor yourself, you can transform your own performance into this text-to-speech service. With Descript, you can easily create like old radio broadcasts or key pieces of NPC dialogue and speeches, just pretty much whatever kind of voiceover you like this one that I just did for the opening of a Dungeon Crawl Classics adventure where the PCs wake up on a prison ship full of horrifying creatures.
To add to your misery is the gagging odor of rot and dank earth. It's easy to spot what reeks of decay over half of the passengers. Aspirational miners like yourself and similarly shackled are starting to burst from the bloat of death. Suddenly, someone shrieks out in terror.
Now obviously, text-to-speech still isn't perfect, and it's not a replacement for a professional voice actor. Descript won't recreate your evil villain's final monologue very well, and it works better for shorter clips, not longer ones where the robotic nature of the voice eventually starts to get heard. But it's still a super handy tool to surprise your players, and if you like using audio in your adventure, check this out.
You know, these tips about AI tools are incredible. Everyone watching needs to subscribe to this guy's channel.
Okay, listen to that guy. He knows what he's talking about. Like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this and reviews and overviews of great one-shot adventures. Next up is This Person Does Not Exist, a website that uses artificial intelligence to create photographs of, well, people who don't exist. This is a super useful tool for handouts and pre-generated characters. Just refresh the website again and again and again, and you'll constantly get a new person. I do wish This Person Does Not Exist did let me customize each person a little bit, like skin tones or gender, but if you don't mind spending some time just hammering on the refresh button in your browser, soon you'll have an infinite supply of NPCs for your modern day campaigns. This Person Does Not Exist is even better if you're a little dangerous with Photoshop or a similar image editing program like I am. I often take a photo I create with This Person Does Not Exist and then use some actions to change up the art style of the image to better suit my campaign. For example, last year I was creating an adventure set in the Star Trek universe, and I needed a portrait of a Vulcan science officer. And I kind of wanted it in the old black and white style of the original FASA Star Trek books. So I went on This Person Does Not Exist, I found a suitable person, and then I very quickly just photoshopped the ears and made them pointy. And then I ran one of my favorite Photoshop actions, one called Photo Tracer by Crystal Designs, and voila, I got a decent looking Vulcan lieutenant as a pre-generated character for my players. There's also actions that do everything from sketches to Leonardo da Vinci styles to comic book styles. Like, this is so cool. I really got to use something like this in a superhero adventure pretty soon. I've also used This Person Does Not Exist in a fun and unique way to kick off a campaign. I was recently running a short superhero game, and I printed out 3 random photos of people for each of my players. And then I asked my players to identify who these were and why they were important people in their lives. So one player, for example, got 3 photos, and one of them was his stepdad. Another one was his high school bully who he still held a grudge against. And the third was a girl at work that he had a crush on. It was a really fun way to start a campaign and added a lot of player creativity into it. So give it a try. Now, all the free adventures that I write and post on oneshotadventures.com, they almost always include pre-generated characters. Because I find, as a game master, I can convince my players to try a new game or try out a new one-shot a lot easier if I can just hand out pre-generated characters to them to pick from. So this next tool really helps me do that. It's called Art Breeder. Art Breeder is sort of a mix between This Person Does Not Exist and Midjourney. With Art Breeder, you can upload various photos and illustrations, and then the AI sort of merges them all together to create brand new characters. And Art Breeder better understands the concept of an artistic style, so you can replicate more painterly styles or sketchy styles or dark and ominous styles like really easily. And this is especially handy if you're creating characters from a genre that takes place far in the past or something with a really unique style to it. As an example, I was creating a horror adventure set in the mid-1700s, and I wanted the pre-generated characters to all look like they were from that era. So This Person Does Not Exist wouldn't really work because they have modern haircuts and clothes, and sometimes they have sunglasses. So instead what I did is I went to Art Breeder and I uploaded some old public domain paintings from that time. And then I mixed them together with different faces and some even celebrities and stuff like that. And then I got something that looked like this. Meet Roger Willowsby, a brave 18th century pioneer who ekes out a living on the frontier, and he's about to face an incursion of otherworldly bugs in my pre-revolutionary horror adventure, The Locusts of Fenmore. Actually, you should check out that adventure. It's really fun and crazy. You can download it for free at oneshotadventures.com. I did something similar in my 1960s spy adventure, Never Forget to Die, where I wanted all the characters to look like they were pulled off of an old James Bond poster. Art Breeder also does environments and creatures and some manga stuff, and while it's not as powerful as Midjourney, you can still use it to create some really fun alien vistas, like this one that I did for this upcoming post-apocalyptic Road Warrior style adventure. I think it worked really well. All right, folks, well that does it for my favorite AI tools for game masters, something that I honestly thought I would never say. I still go back and think about those early drawings that I made building my very first Dungeons and Dragons adventures, and wow, it's really amazing and humbling to think how far technology's come to help us entertain our friends. And really that's what this hobby's about, is how do we surprise our players and keep them coming back for more. If you've found any great tools that are helping you build better adventures, let me know in the comments below and I'll definitely check them out. Until next time, I'm JC, and don't forget, if any of these AI tools try to convince you to wipe out humanity, just say no and invite them to your next tabletop game instead.